Yeah, I guess it was because like some of the videos he was putting out on IG and stuff. Like it seemed like he was getting ready to put out some new stuff. So I reached out to him and I talked to him. I wanted to do like a standalone interview thing with him, and but I got him involved with what I did with Dave and Rook, and it has sort of worked into this thing, this format that I liked, and we got to doing the show, like me, Rook, and Dave for a few weeks. And Rook is pulled back a little bit. He's been working on some stuff in Vegas, but he should be back on the show probably after the New Year's and stuff.
Oh man, it'd have been fun to talk to Rookie on here.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. Yeah. You know, he like I said, he's staying busy though out there in Vegas. But
yeah. You know, we was all real tight back in the day. You know, Rookie his old crew with Dave and C-Dub, Big Dave and C-Dub.
Okay.
You know, there was
Hello. Oh, y'all can hear me? Please tell me.
Peace. What's up, bro?
Yeah, we hear you.
Let's see. Hello.
Yeah, you hear us, Dad?
Hello.
Yeah, we hear you, Dad. Yeah.
Hear me? Let's see something real quick. Hello.
Yeah, you hear me?
Hello.
You hear me, Dave?
You hear me? I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can't hear anybody else.
Not mute, Dave.
Am I in? Am I plugged in? I think I am.
All right. Yeah, just go back with what you talking about, man.
No, but you know, Rookie, when he had his Rookie TV crew, was Big Dave, him and C-Dub.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, me and Big Dave and C-Dub, we still like really, really tight. And you know, them three, they not as cool as they used to be, and then you know, Rookie moved and everything. But yeah, it would have been cool to interview a Rookie. We used to be real tight. I mean, we still cool. Ain't never there's nothing like no drama or nothing like that. But
right.
Rookie's a good dude, man. He always been a good dude.
Yeah, no doubt. He definitely one of the guys, man. But you know, let's see if Dave can hear us now. You good?
Yeah. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm good. I hear you now.
All right. Yeah. I was just running over some of the limited history of the show to Dee. And I was telling him about Rookie's involvement. He was talking about, you know, Dee was just saying that, you know, he would have liked to have heard from Rook.
Yeah. Hopefully someday we get him back in.
Yeah, I said, you know, hopefully sooner than later. But, you know, he's still part of this show. So it's all good. But, yeah, this show indeed is in the building. We are RegalRadio.com. War Media. You can listen to this podcast. I gotta stop putting these banners back up on the show. But you can listen to this podcast on War Media on Anchor. That's the address down there. And yeah, this week, sort of a beginning, our wrapping up of 2020. Me and Dave, of course, Dave here as usual. And you can see up in the upper corner there, very special guest of ours, Mr. Dee Jackson, a very accomplished MC, one of the, you know, definitely one of the best, I would say, coming out of Chicago. Put out several, no doubt, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. But I, you know, put out several albums of you know, great quality. One half of the '80s babies with a tall black guy, and yeah, this, you know, put out a project this year called Unlearn. We're gonna speak to Dee about that. Sort of work that into our year-end coverage that we're doing here. We, you know, sort of want to get into the hip hop side and talk about some of the things that were memorable for us on the music side and the hip hop side in 2020, which is an unprecedented year. A lot of trying things that we've all seen, but a lot of great art was put out, and a lot of people have done some good things this year. So we want to sort of bring that to light, as well as talk about some of the more harrowing things that we've seen and felt throughout this year. But we said we won't get into that in a minute. But D, what's going on with you, man? How you doing? Really appreciate you coming on the show, and you've been a favorite of me and Dave's for a while, and I'm going back into some history in a minute, but just first, what do you what's up with you, man? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm in the same boat as everybody else, man. I'm dealing with 2020, trying to survive 2020.
Right.
A countdown, trying to make it out of this year. But just trying to stay positive, trying to stay creative, working, being a father, trying to live a healthy lifestyle, get rid of this COVID weight.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm maintaining, man. I'm in the same boat as most people right now. 2020 is a beast of its own,
Right.
Yeah, that's where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it sometimes. I consider myself a little bit of a writer, and I know you're, as a creative writer yourself, an MC. I think about ways to encapsulate this year and ways to just at the creative way, sort of like bring some sort of poetic justice to this year. Have you had any thoughts like that about the way that you're gonna be able to get across the happenings of this year, either to your public audience or even to your children, or just in just a broad way, as a creative, how are you sort of coming to grips with the end of this year?
Yeah, you know what? It's a good thing and a bad thing, because like me personally, like the way I write, the way I be creative, it's in both by emotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this year's been nothing but emotions. It's mad emotional, whether it's COVID, whether it's social justice issues, just life in general. So it invoked a lot of emotions, and honestly, that wakes up my pen like every time, like just mad emotions and everything. Anybody who's familiar with my work, I don't want to categorize myself, but I'm real transparent. I talk about life and what's going on, and things like that. So it's definitely it's a lot going on right now. So it's a lot to talk about, and the way I deal with my daughter, I'm a father of one. I got one daughter, and we have real conversations. And like at this point, it's nothing but it's only time for real conversations. We have real adult conversations. She just turned 12, but if I don't prepare her for life right now, if I don't just keep it a buck with her, and still, I don't want her to lose that innocence, but at the same time, she needs to be prepared for what's to come. So we have those real conversations, so she's aware and things like that. And, I've been writing about it too. So, you'll hear it soon. A few things are already out there. We put a song out after our album. We put a song out. It was on Tall Black's EP called Give Me Mine. And it got a lot of notoriety, actually. It was the aftermath of George Floyd. So, we've been speaking on it. We'll continue to speak on it.
Okay. D, I have two small kids. I have two girls, 4 and 6. How are you broaching a lot of the issues? Like, I'm pretty sure there's certain things, being that she's, your daughter's 12, sure she's, pretty perceptive. How, like, say the, death of George Floyd, or just, the events that's happened in Chicago, how do you, frame them for her? When you talk honestly to her.
Well, I tell myself, because she comes with real questions, and I have to give her real answers. When she saw the video of George Floyd, because it was everywhere, because I tried to keep it away from her, but when she saw the video, she had real questions, and I had to honor those real questions with real answers. And the hardest question she had, where I had to keep it real, was why. Like, why would somebody do that? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And I can't sugarcoat it. I can't give it to her like completely raw, like she's a 30-something-year-old man like me. But I can't, like, a real question deserves a real answer. She's becoming a young lady. She's going to experience certain things, and she needs to know why. I have to prepare her. I would hate for her to be in a situation where she's not prepared, and I'm her father. And I feel like I have the tools. I'm equipped with the tools to prepare her, to try and get her as prepared as possible. And I would feel like I failed her, if I don't get her prepared, So as they come, I just try my best to give her an honest answer, at the same time, keeping her innocence as a child. But I don't want her to be naive going into this world. She's a young black lady, young black girl, and I can't have her with a false perception going out in this world. Some things are going to happen to her that don't make sense to her, and she needs to know why.
Has there been any like noticeable changes or challenges that you've come across in just, beyond your interaction with, just from observing her, have you noticed like a sort of loss of innocence or any type of thing like that that's occurred with over this year?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have actually. And one thing that stick out to me, there was a day in particular. It was around when the protests and things were going on with the George Floyd and with the Breonna Taylor, and she couldn't sleep and everything. She hopped into bed with me and things like that. And she knows about like the guns and stuff in the house, the legal weapons I have, but she doesn't concern herself with it. And she was because she kept asking about, like, why is the gun downstairs? Can we keep it up here with us just in case, police or white people come in here and things like that. And that's tough, man. So she knows there's a weapon in the house, but it never concerned her. And now she wants the weapon close to us because she's worried. Tough conversation to have.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think about that too, like with our generations that, we've been around long enough to see some things, but for these younger generations coming up, the teenagers and younger and the early 20s and stuff, like these are really times that are really they're going to form their worldview and their philosophies about a lot of things going forward. And it's to me, it's like, we project a lot of positive thoughts onto these kids, rightfully, because they do have the chance to change things. But it's, I wonder if like if we're leaving them with a lot of negative stuff too, that's just going to make them sort of rehash the battles that we fought and that our parents have fought, and even older have fought. It's a tough thing to think about, because the world that we're leaving is a lot of precariousness stuff that we're leaving in this world. And you would think at this point in 2020 that a lot of this shit that we've had to deal with would have been rectified by now, but a lot of it is not.
And it won't be, not when it's from not when it's from kind of a systematic, plate. When it's coming from a, place of law enforcement and things like that, that's not going to be. Because that's a larger issue. You can kind of move from certain communities when you're dealing with violence, and especially if it's violence from people that look like yourself, but you can't move from, a police presence, especially if that police presence has hostility. There's a limit to where you can, that's something that a lot of people don't think about when they move from where they may live. They want to get away from the violence from people that look like them, and they end up in out of the frying pan into the fire, where they end up in a community that may not accept them, whereas their intention is to go there for a better way of life, for safety, for better schools, what have you. And they may just end up in a community where the challenges may not look like them, or the challenges may not be, it may be the systems in place. It may be the police or whatever is that are in place that create the challenges versus their neighbors or their peers.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's tough to deal with now too, and it's like, Kyle, you were saying, like, you question whether you should tell them about the past or bring things up and have them even accept that burden, I guess. But like, how could you? I almost feel like we have to. We have to bring up the struggles that we've been through, the struggles that our parents went through, that our ancestors, all that stuff, so they can know what we're dealing with. And because it's unfortunately it's the same. It looks different, but it's the same premise.
But yeah, I don't know if I may have jumbled my words a little bit. I definitely agree with that. As far as educating and everything and providing that context, we should have more context in regards to what's happened in the past, and we should definitely arm our youth with as much of that information as possible. I think I was alluding more towards the spiritual, the emotions that's involved in everything. The fact that we can't get our grips on certain things as a society, as living amongst each other. That like I said, we just keep sort of like that. The youth come up as more of a purified version of our society, but we keep feeding them certain things, and we keep having these clashes that we have within society, and we have to have a lot of these classes because again, reform. We can't ask the institutions to reform themselves, but it's just like I just wonder, like, when are we going to be able to transform? When who's going to be able to make that leap ahead for us? Because especially when you look at the fact that when we have our leadership in Congress and the Senate and our judicial system and up to the people who ran for president this year, all being mostly in their 60s and 70s, and the grasp of who has control it leans so much towards our elderly. It really makes it an uphill battle for us and younger to be able to make real impact incrementally going forward.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say I think that it's the difference in America. The reason why a lot of the challenges that we see are coming to the forefront happen is because African Americans, as we venture further out from the cities that we may have lived in, or major cities that we lived in, more to suburban and to more rural areas, more those type of communities. You're going to interact with the people who've had limited interaction with you in the first place. So, and you're disrupting their way of life. I mean, the reality of it. We have that here in California, where traditionally, like, the further east you go, you get into more of a conservative communities. The Trump parade was here, and it was kind of in Riverside County, and that's one of the areas where a lot of African American, a lot of Hispanic Americans are moving out to. Traditionally, it's a more conservative white community. And I think that as you have, more, African Americans and, other minorities moving to areas that are traditionally, conservative, traditionally white communities, you're going to have some level of clash whether it's clash of ideas or clash physically, because you're usurping their way of existence. Historically, I mean, the way white flight has worked, they move from the cities, they move to the suburbs, and then they move further out to the, even more rural areas. And, when you have us kind of following that same migration patterns to a certain extent, and it may be decades later, once they get there, you're going to run into some of those problems. And I think what's happened this year has been kind of a watershed year for a lot of people, a lot of our younger people have been sheltered from that, toxicity, or it's been in like bite sizes. It hasn't been anything. It's just as egregious as like George Floyd.
Microaggressions and stuff.
Right, microaggressions, and it hasn't been anything. I guess that it's called. I think with COVID, and George Floyd was the perfect storm. We've had deaths as egregious as George Floyd. I don't think it's had the same visceral effect just because we haven't been in a scenario where there's been other distractions going on in our lives that while we may take that movement on temporarily, and there's plenty of people to talk about that it's that have been affected by it, but it hasn't caused the same level of umbrage based upon the fact that we had other distractions.
Right.
I mean, and with COVID, a lot of those distractions, I mean, you're stuck in the house, or you're not allowed to move the way you were previously prior to it. So when these events happen, it creates a larger, I guess, outrage than it would have previously, because there's nothing else to focus on but that at the time.
D, you a well learned brother, man, and you know history and I'm sure you know quite a bit about each social movements as they've occurred throughout our history. Like, with it, where do you scale the sort of movement that we've seen this year? Do you think were you surprised by the size of it, or because I think we've talked about it in earlier shows, like it seemed like more people were on the same page than there's ever been in regards to what the problems were and what needs to how they need to be addressed. But unfortunately, by the end of the year, we still get the whole thing where Biden gets 80 million votes, but Trump gets 72 million as well. So there's still a large opposition to a lot of the things that we hold dear and that we would like to see change in society. But I guess just in general, how do you sort of size up the way that the movement occurred this year, and do you think it's a significant movement that will be lasting going into the next year and forward?
So, like, I'm a little different from a lot of people, so I'm conflicted a little bit. I look at people galvanized for what appears to be right, or what appears to be an injustice, and stand for something that's right, to look for a solution, and that makes me proud. It makes me proud, and it makes me feel like we're heading in the right direction. Then you look deeper, and you start to figure out, it could be an agenda behind some of those things too. But then at the same time, I'm just happy that we're doing something finally, and then, like you brought up the election, we're still like a nation split in half and things like that. It's a little deceptive. This election, I would say, was unusual. Like, I'm on record saying that Joe Biden is a piece of work. I'm on record saying that I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for Trump either. Yeah. Let's get that out there. But I can understand why somebody would vote for Biden, even though I wouldn't. But I can't understand anybody that would vote for Trump. I think the thing that we as Black people, we really, really missed the ball this year. We had a rare opportunity where we could have got something tangible done. We had a rare opportunity where the whole world was looking to us as Black Americans, and the Democrats were counting on our vote to get them in office, and Republicans were counting on our vote to help them retain their position. And we didn't ask for anything. We didn't use the power that we had to actually get something tangible, to move a few mountains, to get some real policy changes and things like that too. We just kind of, just roll with the punches. Never. The reason I don't respect the Democrats this time around, first of all, they haven't really done nothing for Black folks, but their whole campaign was based off, let's get this dude out of there. It wasn't like, this is what I'm gonna do for y'all. This is what I'm gonna do for y'all people. You know what I'm saying? Like, Black folks, like, this is the benefit y'all get for messing with us. It's like, nah, man, just let's get this clown out of there. I'm like, all right, but what you got for me? Nothing. It's like, Joe Biden was so arrogant and told Charlemagne, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. I'm like, come on, son. Like there's nothing tangible. Like, what is your solution? And you can't have your whole campaign can't be like, we just got to get this dude out. So at one end, like I'm happy that we're coming together, but like we need to continue, and we need to actually be strategic more, instead of just doing it. We need some strategy behind it. What we gonna do with our power? Let's realize our power. Let's not let them use us, because they're still using us right now. Even right now, promoting this so-called optional yet mandatory vaccine. They try to push a black scientist woman. I think her name's Kizmiki, and they call her Kizzy. They try to push her to the front of the movement so we can feel comfortable, taking this vaccine. So like we're still getting played, but I think we're starting to wake up a little bit.
But do you think though? Like, of course, anybody. We all know what the fears are rooted in, but I think in some ways it's kind of hard to see. What was okay? Just straight up, just the question for you, D. Like, would you in any way entertain taking the vaccine in general, or are you more of a person who would say I have to see how it works first, or are you just anti-vaccine in general?
At this point, I'm anti-vaccine, but they're gonna force it upon us. They're gonna force it on us one way or another. We already got, like, one of my favorite MCs ever, Lupe Fiasco, came out and said, "If you can't come to my concert unless you're vaccinated." You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna force us one way or another. Whether it's your job saying, like, you can't come in unless you're vaccinated. Your kids can't go to school unless you're vaccinated. They might dangle a check in our face, and that'll put some black people in a really compromised position, because you need, a lot of black people, we live in a line. You need money. If they put $2,500 in your check in your face, most black people will probably be like, well, I'm gonna take the shot. Like it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 years to develop, regulate, and test a vaccine. Like, we don't know the 5-year effects on this thing, and looking into the ingredients, usually like a vaccine is like, a lesser strand of the virus, and coronavirus is not even an ingredient in this vaccine. So what the hell are they putting in us? But they're using, like I said, they push the black face in the forefront. They playing us again to use it against us. So I'm not telling nobody don't get vaccine. I'm just saying it's enough cause to pause right here. So.
Well, can I so just, so kind of with your to regarding your, I guess, chagrin with the black people kind of focus on getting Trump out. I think that in a year, where, like, if there was like a Mitt Romney on the other side, I think that the issue at hand is that with Trump was so polarized, is so polarizing. I won't say is so polarizing that I guess maybe the focus was on just getting him out, and it wasn't. And maybe in a normal environment, the focus on, or the ability to say, okay, this is the Democratic Party going to do to bring value to black people, could be more of a value proposition, or a control, a position of power to come with. I just think that with this year being what it is, I think that unfortunately it's kind of like, when you're looking at two, if you have two cancers, or you have two tumors, if I had to take a choice, the Democratic Party has just been the benign one versus what we have, which is malignant. And that was the reason why I voted for Biden. It wasn't that I was wowed by him.
Right. I'll say right quick too, adding on to that, I think there are some distinct, like, you can look at the way that they've attacked the system in the day since the election. It sort of brings to the forefront how unashamedly the Trump administration and his backers are willing to really destroy a lot of what we have that's called democratic. We could argue about how democratic these systems really are, but when it actually didn't work for them, they were willing to just tear the whole shit down. And the only reason they haven't is because they're so incompetent. So we lucked out the fact that they they just don't know what they're doing in regards to tearing down the system. But their aim was to tear down a lot of freedoms for a lot of people. And you look at people like William Barr and a lot of these people who we fortunately won't have to deal with after January 20th. I think that was, we framed the whole thing as in regards to getting out Trump, but it's also getting out Trump and getting out a certain form of right-wing, insanity that really was going to lump us all up going forward. And I think that was what, for me, again, that's why I voted for Biden. That's why I voted for anything that wasn't on the side of Trump. But you said you want to jump in again, Dave?
No, I just wanted to say that you pointed it out like about 6 weeks ago during the election about them, trying to essentially be underhanded but incompetent in their underhandedness. And I didn't necessarily make the connection then, but now you definitely do see like post-election them trying any way you can to undermine the system. And I think that's really something that's telling now more than anything. And with to your point, anything but it's terrible to say. I mean, but anything but Trump and his minions is really what I end up voting for, because a lot of the mindset of the people that support him, and I'm not even talking about the wealthy people that support him, because I understand that, but a lot of the the lower income people to support him, just a lot of their conspiracy theories, it's just really it goes beyond toxic. It goes to the point of having like mental health issues. When you consider some of the conspiracy theories they pump with Anon and the George Soros, and just a lot of, if you know a lot of the things that they're trying to, the pedophilia and it's a lot of it just it should have no connection with politics, just to get to the point.
No, agree. And definitely, like I said earlier, I understand why folks voted for Biden. I understand. And I think I get, not saying that I'm smarter or anything than anybody, because I'm not, but I think I go a little deeper than most folks, and I try to focus on the bigger picture. Like if I always use this analogy, like if you walk in a building and behind the red door they're killing kids, and behind the blue door they're raping kids, like which door are you going into? Or rather just like, fuck it, I'm gonna figure it out on my own. I'm gonna go straight and just figure it out on my own. Like I'm not I'm not with that anymore, especially with the opportunity like that we had, and yeah, to your point, everybody that's associated with Trump, we need to get him out of here, and we need to never ever revisit that again, so I'm definitely on board with like anything to get Trump out too, but like you're not just gonna play us, we had I think we let a rare opportunity like slip.
Well, but okay, well, go ahead, Dave. I want to get
but I think the challenge is that especially when you're in an election year that's during, and to use the refrain that's thrown at me by my wife quite often, and during an epidemic, so a global pandemic is what she says, and ultimately, and ultimately, I think that's really the challenge, is being able to find like clarity in that moment, to be able to formalize or say, being able to go into a bargaining table, so to speak, during the pandemic, when everyone's kind of, for lack of a better term, in survival mode, or trying to, and especially when you're in a community that's been disproportionately affected by COVID, it really becomes a lot more challenging to say, we need to unify to be able to focus on this. And I think if anything, like case in point, like I don't know if there was a Green Party candidate and if outside of like Kanye, I don't know who the other people that were running in between. But if there was anyone who was going to say, we're going to run on a platform that focuses on Black people's, or African Americans' rights, arguably in certain states, it could have went the other way. I mean, Michigan being for one of them, it could have went the other way if there was like an independent candidate who was saying, we're going to focus on the rights of African Americans. That's just an example. Whereas there are some key states we could have lost, or that Biden or Democrats could have lost. But I mean, if you're not talking about from like a political party standpoint, if you're talking about just, coming to a bargaining table with Biden and the Democrats, I think there's still opportunity for that. I mean, I don't think that's gone, but yeah, I understand your point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even the fact. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
now I'm saying, I was gonna say right quick. There's a reason why a lot of us feel cynical in that way in regards to, once these guys get in office, they're gonna be pretty much shut us down because and not really listen to our complaints and things anymore. The the listen to the reforms that we want to champion, the specific reforms with regards to black people, because we haven't seen as many of the advances in our standing as citizens as we've wanted to see, and with sort of even more liberal, arguably liberal presidents in the past, and presidents who you could say did a lot of things to affect change, but in regards to maybe a Clinton and Obama, but they affected a lot of change while they were in office. But we didn't see in the black community the changes that we would have liked to see to the degree. And I think that's what sort of stems from the arguments of people like Kanye, who in a twisted way, used that to side with the Republicans. To the it's a different lines of the spectrum where you have that, and then you have Cube, who had his argument. I want this. This is my way of bringing these two guys up, and and bringing it back to D. In regards to these entertainers, people who we primarily know as entertainers, and a lot of entertainers and rappers and people who have speaking up extensively for the black community have made themselves known this year. And I just want to get your thoughts on that phenomenon in and of itself. And what do you think of how effective or non-effective people like Cube and and like I said, Nye and Puffy got involved in some ways again this year. He got some headlines too, and there've been a lot of people you can name. But what did you think about that phenomenon? Like I said, and what do you think we could take from what these guys said and the ways that they approach these issues and made themselves public?
Yeah, I think it's good with anybody, any size platform that you got, to use it responsibly. Even though it's kind of trendy right now to be woke or whatever, but I think it's good to use your platform. I don't have a problem with it as long as you giving information. You're not trying to influence like one way or the other. Like I think Puffy was a little problematic, because he was at first, he was telling people to go one way without just do it blindly, and then he changed his tone, was like, everything is transactional, so this black vote won't be free and things like that. I think Ice Cube had the right plan too, and I think a lot of people took Ice Cube, the information that he had, I think a lot of people took it the wrong way, because Ice Cube clearly stated that he went to both sides, and one side said, talk to me later after you vote us in, and the other side, whether they was using him or not, they said, okay, we'll listen to you, even though I felt like they was using him. But, but a lot of people just took it as like, yo, he's a Republican now, he's pro-Trump and things like that. Like, no, but that should have told us what the Democrats really think about us. They don't want our blind support, and then we'll deal with you later, but they never really deal with us. And back to what you was like, that's a example of like what you were saying, Dave, like some of these states could have went the other way. Then that may have possibly been a good thing if the Democrats lost this time around, because I can guarantee you, if they lost this time around and it was because of the black vote why they lost, 4 years from now, we'll have a lot of things on the table. We will have some real serious.
So
Democrats have lost elections before, though, and it hasn't really.
That's why I think we got a rare opportunity at this time. Let's say if we, in large numbers, sat this thing out, and it was like blatant that the reason they lost because they didn't have the black vote that they've been guaranteed for the past 60 years. That Lyndon B. Johnson pretty much told Congress back then, like when he made those lies to Dr. King, put them bogus civil rights laws on, said we do this for them now, we'll have their blind support for the next 60 years. And that's exactly what we do without asking for anything. We just vote Democrat because that's what we know. Just like most black people, we're Christian because that's what we know. We don't question anything. But
did you look at the plan that Q put together and the response that Trump had, his platinum plan apparently? Did you see any of that stuff?
I saw the platinum plan. I thought that was a lot of kind of just talking around stuff, nothing real tangible up in that too. You know, they use there's a lot of loopholes in that. You know, every time they use the word minorities and things, you know, it's not specifically for black people. So it's a lot of minority talk where anybody can get it, like whether it's white women, you know, gay white men, things like that. There's a lot of that talk up in there. So it's a lot of loopholes to get around where it's anything specific for black folks. I haven't seen Cube's plan though. I can't really speak on it like that though. But I know
I think there is a website. I don't know if it's still up. That I actually looked at a bit of that plan as Cube, you know, that Cube endorsed. I don't know how much he had to do in the laying out of the plan or the writing of it or anything, the verbiage, but it actually is a pretty effective, as on paper, it's pretty effective in regards to formulating attack and attacking certain things in regards to, you know, wealth disparity and, you know, building wealth and, you know, police reform and stuff like that. But it's just, you know, I think in the hands of effective lawmakers and leaders, you know, and that's the one thing that I think that for me that was troubling about these statements and everything that was made, that the things that are being pushed, is that these brothers, I love them. I appreciate their passion and the knowledge that they have and the particular point of views that they have. But I think it would have been much more effective if they aligned themselves with people like Stacey Abrams, not necessarily her, but people who have been on the ground floor, grassroots, working in politics or in community building and stuff like that. Instead of just coming out and saying, well, I'm a rich black man, I still care for my people. So, you know, I'm coming with all this emotion and all this bluster and saying, well, I think we need to do this, or we playing ourselves, you know.
But didn't Cube do that? Then he came out and said that Dr. Claude Anderson helped him put out his contract for black people, his plan. A couple other names, I'm drawing a blank right now, but I specifically remember him saying Claude Anderson helped him, and he's older.
He may have. I think there's still more that he could have done. But you definitely didn't get that, like you say, from Puffy or the likes, and you didn't get that from Kanye. Kanye, you know, he was running with Owens and old girl Owens and
Candace,
people like Candace Owens and people like that. So I think it's just there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot more of that self promotion that I got from it and bluster and all this stuff. Like I got the answers, and instead of the real, you know, the real type of mental building and really the sort of coalition building that I think we needed. You know, again, like Dave said earlier, this was a year where we were all hurting across the country. And, you know, as black folks, we definitely got to make sure that we take care of ourselves. But if we're in a situation that's crumbling completely around us, we're not going to be able to get anything because the whole system is crumbling around us. There's going to be, pretty soon there's going to be nothing to get from anything. So we got to make sure that we find a way to both build ourselves up, but also be a functional part of a progressive coalition that allows for something to get done that backs off the troublesome things that people like Trump and people like Mitch McConnell want to set into our country for good, or even take back the little bit of striving that we've done since people like Lyndon Johnson. Like if like I said, if people like O'Connell and William Barr and Trump would have it, they'd take back any type of advances that we've made since the civil rights movement, since the real civil rights movement at its peak in the middle of the last century.
Yeah, I think Biden's that guy too, though.
Yeah.
I think he's just low key with it. Let me ask you a question real quick. You guys seen Django Unchained?
Yeah. That's a personal thing between me and Dave. We got a history with that movie. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So who was the better man, or Calvin Candy, Leonardo DiCaprio's character? He was like, man, I'm a slave owner. That's what I am. I don't give a fuck. Well, nobody thinks about it. I'm that's who I am. I'm gonna act like it, unapologetic. You had Big Daddy, who was like, okay, I might give you some leftovers, put you in some nice clothes, but at the end of the day, I'm a slave owner too, and I don't want to see your people advance, but I'm gonna smile in your face. Like that's what we're dealing with right now. There's two horrible people, two horrible systems that we're dealing with right now. They're both the same person, but somebody gonna smile, and act like, high five us and may act like he's with the with the culture or whatever thing. And the other person is just like, nah, I'm Trump and I don't play that shit.
Well, but DT, I guess that point, I think that Trump is a little bit more. I think he's a little bit even more. I don't want to say nefarious. Not nefarious. Nefarious is the good term for it. Is because of his intention of creating a presence where he's accepting of black people, even though all the people that are behind him don't give any shits about, black people. I mean, he's the one that at least creates like this false facade of, where, I'm accepting after. Yeah, he definitely. Kanye, he wouldn't. I mean, a traditional, Republican would probably stay away from a Kanye, for example, or from celebrities in the first place. They wouldn't give him a platform in the first place. Trump's given a platform to anyone where he thinks he can create leverage. So, I mean, and I don't think it's necessarily because he gives a shit about him. It's because it's to accomplish his means. When you mention like Ice Cube being able to go to Trump and having a voice or a platform, it's because Trump's already president. He's trying to maintain. The Democrats, right? So the difference is you're arguing from a position, as the Democratic Party, you're arguing from a position where you don't necessarily, where you're not in power. You don't have the presidency yet. So I think it's different. It's a different thing making promises or making agreements to someone, and you don't even have surety that you're going to be, win the election at this point of the conversation.
Yeah, so Trump wasn't above making empty promises to people who he knew was aligned with his party as well. When you look at the way he played out the West Virginia coal miners and a lot of the farmers in the Midwest, where they thought shit was going to be sweet with him in office, and they didn't really get much of anything out of him being in office. So Trump's ability to shuck and jive his way through campaigning is pretty well established, and I think in a way, though, I agree with you, D. That can mirror what a lot of what we see on. It does mirror a lot of what we see on the Democratic side. A lot of that has to do with the system that's in place, where you really don't get listened to, as in regards to, like I said, in regards to being advocated for, unless you are loud and you have a briefcase full of money with you. The people who really get listened to in Washington are the ones who bring money to the table. And I think that's really the main issue that we have as black folks, is that we don't have that money to match the corporate interest in this country that advocate for themselves.
Well, you don't. Well, yeah, I don't know if you want that though, because I mean, there's people. I mean, I think there's a little bit of a change in the Democratic Party. It's not widespread, but I mean, you got the squad, you got ALC, you got Ilhan Omar, you got Ayanna Pressley, you had Stacey Abrams. I mean, you have a little bit of more of a progressive change. You have John, what's his name, Ossoff. You have a little bit of a progressive change that didn't exist, where a lot of the old status quo Democrats, they're in certain places they're changing. Are they changing in the presidency? No. But I think from a state to state standpoint, you do have that. Unfortunately, in Illinois, you don't have that. It's just as far as a lot of progressive Democrats in Illinois,
old school Democrats still here. Yeah.
Right. We have them. We have them here in California. For better or for worse, we have them here in California, but you don't have them there in Illinois. And I think that's something that you kind of have to focus on, is more what you can kind of do on a state level to get the old guard out. I mean, as much as possible to support people on a state level. And to your point, Kyle, yeah, Q probably would have been a better supporting a Stacey Abrams, somebody who's doing the work already. Just getting up and being on a damn bully pulpit or saying like I'm the person who should be the negotiating the terms for Black America to me is quite presumptuous, especially when, to your point, for 30 years you've been known as a rapper and an entertainer and movie. You have not been on a political, you haven't been in any political movements to kind of be able to give yourself that, for lack of a better term, credibility. Truth to be told, if Kim Kardashian went and said, I want to speak for Black America more, I'd be more comfortable with her speaking for Black America. And it's in a weird, and it's a weird pivot. But what she's been doing is clemency work. She's been doing a lot of clemency work for anything that the guy who just got executed in Indiana, I can't think of his name, but it was yeah, she was on, she was in the background pleading for this man's life, saying, hey, you know what, they need to do a stay of execution. And that wasn't the first person she's done that for. I mean, so I think like there are other people.
I think
go ahead, D.
No, I think the whole Ice Cube thing, I think his delivery was messed up because, like, honestly, I think we all know that Cube didn't write out this plan. I think the people that supported him, like the Claude Andersons, the Cornel West, I think he was mentioned too. I think this was their plan, and they thought it would be accepted more, making Cube the face. It's just like, any celebrity put their name on a restaurant, like they ain't up in that flick.
like Hollywood back in the day,
right? So I think
owning their face on it.
The presentation and the delivery could have been much better, and I think it would have been at least like, I don't want to say accepted, but it would have been received a little better. Where we were like, okay, let's see what he's talking about. But people, see like, oh man, he just left meeting with Trump's people and everything. He's a Trump supporter. Like,
I agree. A lot of what. Too much of the discussions with these people, they become entrenched in our already well-worn opinions of these people, from the histories that we have with them as entertainers, or someone like Cube, you may have a tendency to go against, to sort of want to play him against the Cube that we knew as an artist going back to America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate and stuff like that. Or with a Diddy, you may want to, you may have a tendency more to undercut him because there's been a lot of times where he hasn't shown himself to be the most serious guy either.
Right.
But we just got to understand that I think, we all are trying to work for the same sort of things. And I think, even for brothers at that level, there's something to be said for approaching something of this magnitude with a more humble, a more humble way of approach, and I like the way that, I think you can compare them to brothers like maybe a Killer Mike or something who, Killer Mike is very much of a, he's much of a self-promoter too, but he has done work that has been more specific in regards to promoting and like black banks and stuff like that, black-owned banks, and promoting wealth distribution within the black community and stuff. So I think if you have people who zero in on certain areas like that, or like Dave, like you say with Kim, focusing on getting people off who have had bad like you said, I'm trying to think of the term, but like I said, getting people off of death row who've been
right, clemency, stay execution,
possible, But think of focusing on zeroing in on areas like that. If we had certain people zeroed in on areas like that, or then have other people zero in on other areas, instead of just saying I got all the answers for all the 400 years of oppression that we've encountered. I think it'd be much better if we just had people zero in on certain things, bring their resources and their voices to certain specific issues, and keep building on those things, and keep fighting those fights that we can possibly turn over things within the next few years or so going forward.
Yeah, and D, I think something that we are missing out on is that the black community, what a lot of politicians play on, is not monolithic. It's not monolithic in our shared experience. It's not monolithic in our mindset. I
Mhm.
mean, it's one thing that no one points out is that Trump has had its core base of black people, black men that voted for him, and I've had when people ask me, well, 12, 13% of black men voted for Trump, you kind of you try to figure out why outside of this, dumb niggas in every subset. But it's just really about kind of like, for anything that machismo, that toxic, that you hate to use the term toxic masculinity, but that's something that's really appealing. I mean, there's something about Trump that his bravado that's appealing to people across all subsets. I mean, I think that confidence, whether it's based in any reality, I think that's what ends up being attractive to people. But more importantly, I think the Democrats and Republicans both, you can't approach African Americans across the country as this monolithic community. I was talking to a woman today who's based in D.C., but she grew up in Calabasas 30 years ago. And I'm pretty sure her experience is going to be completely different. Like my kids, my kids' experiences are going to be different from your kids' experience. So, from your daughter's experience,
Right.
growing up where she does, where my kids growing up where they do. And I think the issue at hand is that when you put especially entertainers at the forefront of any political movement, you're going to have problems because the one is an assumptive representation. It's an assumptive, it's a presumption that it's a presumption that this person represents everybody's thoughts. And I talk, being in the business I am, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to some of them are a good part of them are African American, and the mindsets and the views are starkly different. I know black people who support Trump. I know black people, to your point, who are on the other side of the spectrum, who are super woke, for lack of a better term. And I know black people who are in the middle. I mean, but you can't have one person. It's highly presumptuous to have one person, especially somebody who's an entertainer, try to be the representative of 30 plus million people spread across the country.
Yeah, agreed. And I just think the way they presented that was just wrong. Um, like I say, I don't know personally, but I think he was meant just to be the face. I don't think Cube woke up one day and be like, I'm going to speak for all black folks and I'm going to jot this down and do that though. But I think the rollout was all wrong though. And like, I know you brought up like Killer Mike, Kyle, too. And Killer Mike, he does a lot of good in the community too. I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect with him too, because I don't know, it feels like he's talking down to us at times. It feels like he has an elitist attitude and he kind of telling us, well, you're too stupid to realize this. You need to do this and tell us what we're gonna do instead of breaking it down and let us know why it makes sense. Like he is a good brother and I think he means well and everything, but I don't know if his technique is the best too.
I can see what you say there. I can see that, and let's transition a bit into
Okay. Before we transition, I just want to get the record straight. I don't like Trump. I don't support Trump.
No,
he said it at the beginning. You didn't vote for him either, so that's
I have
for me, man. But I wanted to speak. Getting back to we talk about artists and these premier hip hop figures and stuff, and them sort of crossing over into our politics and stuff like that. Just looking at things from a pure creative point of view, because I want to just get into some regular music talk and stuff here, culture talk. Let's start off with, because this year was what it was, and a lot of the music, from different artists touched on different issues in different ways, different approaches. Overall, D, what did you think about the way that hip hop, or you could broaden it to music by black creators in general? What do you think about the way that it represented itself and the way that it represented the people in this, very memorable, at times very rough and hard year to get through?
Yeah, I think this year in particular, you see a lot of people trying to be a little bit more responsible with the craft, with what they say and things like that. And to me, that's a good thing. I mean, we definitely have some low points too, but I think for the most part, people are trying to, you know, bring a little substance back and be responsible for what they say because this is a time that we at least nobody in our generation we've never experienced this. So hopefully people are waking up and realizing these words have power. And if you're an influencer of any type of way, whether you won't ask it and want this responsibility or not, you have the responsibility to be responsible with what you say. And
Right.
I think for the most part, some people, you see it. I've noticed it more this year, people being more responsible with
Who's the most noted transition you seen? Because when you said that, I'm start thinking like Megan Thee Stallion and
yeah.
Cardi B. It can't start coming to mind. And I was like, well,
But those
maybe
are
those songs were
They get a lot
pre-COVID.
of twerking for the
So
movie this year.
And those are two examples of both ends of the spectrums. Like, I'm proud of you for trying to do this, and at the same time, you kind of set us back again with WAP. You ain't, what's the point of that? But then it's a double-edged sword too, because like people criticize Meg for trying to be conscious. It's just like, okay, but we know you the one-legged twerking, just super ratchet chick, and you trying to be conscious now. Like, we don't believe you, but I mean, I commend her for trying to be responsible with her words, whether it hit or not.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with female MCs, it seems like the game really centers around one or two at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The attention and everything. I would like to if you have any names or any artists who you would throw out as far as female MCs who you think are underrated or should be given more of a platform and anything. I know for a while people have thrown out Rhapsody as sort of that number one. And I think in some ways that's sort of getting played too. Nothing against Rhapsody, but it's sort of like if that's your only example, you're not digging that deep, So I don't know if would you agree with that, Dee? Is there anybody else who you think should have that sort of at least a little bit more of attention into what they're saying out there?
Yeah, I think Rhapsody is at the top of that list. I'm drawing a blank now, but there's a bunch of dope female MCs. I know a lot of them. I missed the mark on a lot of them because I'm a content guy, and if the content is not there or if it's something I can't relate to, then it misses me. I was talking to my guy Dave, actually, different Dave, and he brought up Meg and things like that. And he was like, but you got to give it to her. She can rhyme. She's a dope MC. And I was like, I don't know, because like I can't listen to somebody talking about twerking and hopping on dicks. Like
That makes a difference. Because I mean, you could have dope written sex rhymes.
You can, it's relatable. Like if I just, it's with everybody. I had an argument like years ago about ranking Eminem and things like that. And one of my homies, he a white dude, and he has Eminem on the top of his list. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because you relate to some of that shit he's saying. Like, I don't. Like, can he rhyme? He can rhyme his ass off. But like some of the shit he talking about is over my head. It doesn't hit with me because I don't relate to that goofy white boy shit. Like, I don't relate to these girls talking whole shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, it missed me sometimes.
I was gonna say Brittany. I mean, somebody local is Brittany Carter.
Brittany Carter's dope.
Yeah,
Brittany Carter's dope.
yeah.
Rita is dope. Me and Rita got some stuff out there. It's a lot of dope.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dope local MCs like Ange 13. She's dope. Amina is dope. It's a bunch of dope female like local that cats need to get in tune with. So.
Yeah. One that we talking about female MCs, and it's kind of transcends to the film, but the 40-year-old version, what's her name? Rada Blank. I mean, she was. I know that's not her real. I'm assuming that's not what her.
She's a filmmaker, but she's a rapper in the movie, right?
Right. Yeah. And she was spitting hard in that. So I mean, yeah, but it unfortunately, and out here you got Cam and Chyna. I love them. I haven't got a chance to. Hopefully, I get a chance to see them in concert at some point. But they're from Compton, and they're really, I guess they do a lot of freestyles based upon, I guess, whatever popular tracks. But if you look them up, Cam and Chena are real dope. They're twin female rappers based in Compton.
Okay, yeah, I get in tune.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to the overall, looking back at the music this year, and we're gonna get into your project soon that you put out with Tall Black, your full length Unlearn. But that like I said, given your taste and what you do, like to see it in your music or hear in your music, what would be among the projects that really stood out for you this year, or the artists in general, who may have put out multiple things that really stood out for you this year?
Man, first, I'm on record saying that I think Nas is the GOAT, and I really enjoyed King's Disease.
Yeah,
it was dope. So that's at the top of my list. Freddie Gibbs, Alchemist, that was they had a dope project. Griselda is still consistent. Black Thought had a couple really dope projects. I mean,
yeah,
just crazy. It's been a decent year as far as like some good music. Those stand out. Even the leaked J Electronica album that he eventually released after they got leaked. Like that was crazy dope.
You prefer that over the written testimony?
The one with Jay?
Well, the official one with Jay.
I might prefer the leak one over that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was a duet album, kind of. I don't know if it was dope, but I don't know if that should have been like your first official album, even though we've been hearing Jay Elect for years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why he couldn't have finished that album up. Because for a while they were talking about what Jay wouldn't put it out. Jay-Z wouldn't put it out because there wasn't no singles on it. But there wasn't no singles on a written testimony.
Mm-mm.
I guess it had to be Jay had to be on them for them to be considered singles. But they was spitting, like I said, they were spitting some hard stuff. They spitting all that 5% of stuff on there, and it's the same stuff that Jay Elect would do on his own.
Yeah, it was.
So I agree with you. He should have put out was it Act 2 before he did anything. I don't get the speaking of Rook, we brought him up earlier. Like Rook swore that it was a big that them leaking that was a big like promotional deal, and I don't know. Aside from getting maybe a couple more people to subscribe to Tidal, I don't know really what it did. But I'm glad to have seen that it finally came out, and right. I like for it to be a finished product at some point.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it is what it is, man. We got to the way they gave it to us. We got to take it that way.
Right. We had to wait all this time, so I guess it'll probably be another 10 years before it be mastered and put out for real.
Right. Yeah. He was rapping though. He's rapping his ass off.
Oh yeah, love Jay Elect, man. Since he first came out, man. I remember listening to the Nas tribute joint that he had, and that was just some of the most amazing rapping ever. And Exhibit A, Exhibit C, he's done some of the most amazing rapping for the past 15 years, man.
Yeah, when it comes to just rapping, he at the top of the list too. But I think the reason it took so long, I think he struggled with like putting together complete songs, cohesive music and everything. But I think if you give him a dope ass beat and just say go for yours and don't worry about the hook and things like that, I think that's where he thrived.
As an artist, how do you like approach certain things like that, like certain aspects of, because for someone like you, I can imagine there's more of a urgency to put out things, from year to year, as opposed to a Jay Electronica who he, at one point he was living a very modest life to homelessness and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden he's hanging with the Rothschilds and he's hanging with Jay-Z and Diddy, and he's become this whole this whole wandering figure across the globe. Soon at one time he pops up in India with the Maharishi, and then he's at the Grammys on some other point. He's just living this life that many of us maybe in some ways dream about, but it really shut down his creativity. I don't know if I couldn't say his creativity. It shut down his output to a degree where we found ourselves thirsting for this little bit of records from him that over the last 12 or so years. For you, I think you put out something of substance at least every year, whether you're working with people, people like Tall Black or whatever. But like I said, what do you think is in the mind of someone like that, and how would you compare that to your thinking and your approach in regards to making and putting out music?
I heard before, like, some people figure like once you made it, you got a little change in your pocket, you don't have that same sense of urgency, that same motivation. I don't want to speak for him, but maybe that's the case. He called him a lick, man. He got him a girl that got generational wealth, and it's just like, maybe that sense of urgency wasn't there. Maybe he wasn't motivated or inspired, to write. I know with me, this actually, as far as like full-length albums, 80s Babies album, this is the longest we've ever went without putting out a project. The gap, it was like a 4-year gap, but it didn't seem that long because me and Tall Black, we're always putting stuff out there. We always stay relevant, whether it's a Lucy here, Lucy there, Tall Black putting out projects, or me doing a random song, with somebody and maybe leaking it or hopping on somebody else's project and things like that. I stay, speaking on things. I stay, relevant and stay putting stuff out there. But I know now, my mindset was a little different. Like in the past, I felt like I always had to have something out there so I won't be forgotten. I always got to stay relevant. But now, my process is just so different, man. It's like I just let it come to me. I don't force anything anymore. It's just like, what, I'm gonna let it come to me. I listen to some of my old work. I'm still proud of it, and I still love it. But I can hear the songs that I kind of forced. I can hear like, man, maybe this one I remember I wanted to make a song sounding like this, so I forced myself to make a song to sound like this. I hear the difference from previous works and like Unlearn. Unlearn was so organic. It was so natural. It was just nothing was forced. Everything came to me. It was no rush. That's why it took so long, because it was super organic, and I just let the creative juices flow, and I let it come to me, and it came out the way it came out. I didn't have any vision of I gotta make something sound like this. Like, no, this is what's on my heart. This is what we need to speak about, and it's going to come to me, so the music may not come out as frequent as it used to now, because like I'm going to let the creativity come to me now rather than forcing something out, though. But yeah,
I can see that, because it's a very like when I say easy listening, it's not like like WNUA or nothing. It's like it's easy to take in, and really it's not like you say, it's not forced in where you're really just trying to, even though you make statements throughout the album, it's the music itself is not like, oh, we're really emphasizing. It's more like, yeah, just come in and mess with us and listen, just listen, take a minute and listen to what we're saying. And I say I think there's a maturity and a security within the music that y'all put in this project that is just very, The World Is Yours is one of my favorite tracks of the whole year, and going all the way through the album is just a lot of music that we could come to expect from you and Tall Black, but it's also stuff that it seemed to really fit what like I said, it made sense and it made an impact without it being forceful. And like I said, it was definitely an impressive album, man.
Man, appreciate that. Appreciate that. We put a lot of work into it. Yeah, we worked hard on it too. Like it's definitely it's a familiar 80s babies sound and a familiar 80s babies feeling, but it's a different vibe too at the same time too. And I think we both approached it different. Like I think on like previous bodies of work, like I don't know, like sometimes I felt like I had to prove that I know how to rap, and like I don't have to prove that. Like anybody who rock on me, they know I can rhyme. They know I can rhyme. I can rhyme better than most people, not trying to be arrogant. And Rail, tall black, it's like he kind of everybody know he's an elite producer. You know, so every beat you don't have to get super like busy, and you got to have like 4 different kicks and a set of horns and 3 samples. Like we know you can get busy sometimes. Like I think on this project he knew when it was time to fall back and let me do my thing and let me be the instrument on this. And me, I knew when it's time to just not be too much. You know, I don't have to be super lyrical, metaphorical to get my point across, and just focus on making songs and focus on the message we was trying to deliver, the thought we was trying to get across on the song too. So I had to learn that, and I think the music came out way better when we both learned that. You know, just by this time I don't have to prove I know how to rap, because we know this. You know, not to sound arrogant. You know.
Definitely. You put in enough work, man, for real. You've been on enough nice joints, with Tall Black and with others, man.
Yeah, let's say it too. I mean, it's still some dope. It's a lot of rapping being done. It just may not be like in the same way I used to do with punchlines and things like that. But it's a lot of, it's dope. It's my favorite project that we ever done.
Okay. You got something, Dave, right quick? Is he muted?
You on mute?
Yo, yeah, I don't have him on mute. We can't hear you, Dave. Let's see if we get straight. Well, I got something though, right? You good, Dave?
2 seconds. You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. So no. What I was just gonna say is I think that people come to you for that D. I mean, I think there's enough powerful, or stuff that's heavy on beats and where they try to overproduce. But I think people come to you for more laid back and more contemplative rap than coming to you for the overproduced stuff. And I mean, to some of the things you mentioned were kind of your favorites, whether it's the Nas project or whether it's the JLX project. You have a lot of that heavy focus on production and elaborate raps. But I was like, you don't always come to want that for everybody. And I mean, you come to something a little bit more smooth.
Yeah, something well made and where you don't necessarily see the seams and everything. And I think in regards to you and your pairing with Tall Black, and how has that evolved throughout the years, man? Because it's been interesting. Like me and Dave, one of the first things that we did when we had our website put together in 2013. We did an interview with Tall Black, and we did it through his record company at the time. They was the one who was putting out the Detroit album, and they helped us out with that. And, we got to do a little feature with him, and it went well. But like I said, with projects like that, he's really gotten to exist on a different plane in a lot of ways, and you brothers have given each other a lot of space, like where you've been able to do what you wanted to do, and he's been able to do what he wanted to do. He went over to England for a while, and he's really gained a lot of reputation internationally and stuff. But I know he's back in the States now, right?
Yeah,
he's been back in the States for a little while, right? Yeah. So given that he's made his moves and everything, and he's still not, he's not in Chicago anymore. He's still, I guess when you got started out, he was around the way. He was here in the city, but he's made his travels and everything. He's made his renown and everything. So with all that happening, how, like I say, how has your relationship and your partnership with him evolved or changed in that time, and what has it meant to you guys create a process in the way that you've created?
Yeah, I think the thing that keep me and him so tight, I mean, our foundation is friendship. Before he made his first beat, me and him, he was one of my best friends already. A lot of people don't know we went to high school together. We met playing basketball. So, so we were friends. I was actually rapping before he started producing. And so like the foundation of friendship, that's why the music sounds so good. That's why the chemistry is there too. That's why he can move to England for 7 years, and we still, tight, get things done, and this time around, I think I can tell, I don't know if most people can tell, I can tell all on each project, the difference, whether we were sending music back and forth or whether we were in the same place. I mean, I can tell, I don't know if people can tell, but we did some of this album like back and forth, but like, I know there was a point too where we felt stagnant, and he was living in DC at the time. And he came here and he stayed with me for a while, and we knocked out like 7-8 joints, and the chemistry, like when we come together and everything. So even the space, even him venturing out doing his own thing, me doing my own thing, I think that, I mean, kind of made the bond even stronger, like we can venture out and do projects with other people. But this is like 80s Babies is the foundation for both of us, like he's tall black guy. That's a name of his own already. He, like you said, he's the world famous tall black guy. He's known across the globe and everything. But it started here, and I think we both know that. Even he does projects with Jazzy Jeff and things like that. But I don't want to say it's secondary to this because we do your thing, but we both know like it started with us. And that's, we always, as long as we feel like making music together, we want to continue making music together. It's never going to be an issue. We sound good together. And like I said, the foundation is friendship. It's going to be my homie regardless. Like I would say 75-80% of the time we talk is not about music. It's about something else. It's whatever, whether it's sports or whether it's just being silly, or he got something going on with his girl, he need to get out of his chest, talk to me. So it's, like I said, it's a foundation of friendship, so it makes everything else easier.
Yeah, so Dave, I guess we got no excuse to not stay tight. You just in California, tall black went over to England, so
went over to England. Yeah, he's in Cleveland now, actually.
Oh, Cleveland, okay.
Yeah,
I've seen him on I've seen him online because I keep up with Zoe too, and I've seen them and do some stuff together. So I thought he still might have been in that DC area, but he's in Cleveland. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he's in Cleveland now. Yeah, got a project he's working on that require him to move out there for a little bit.
Okay. And can we expect to hear any new stuff from you guys in 2021?
Yeah, we actually we started working on a few things already. We still want to push Unlearn a little more because
sure.
Actually the day it came out was the day that we all went on lockdown. So like it came with COVID. So we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. It's some joints on there, man. We haven't got opportunity to perform. We didn't really get a chance to shoot any more videos other than the first one, The World Is Yours. So we still want to push that one. We probably put out a deluxe with maybe a few new songs and a vinyl.
Yeah.
But we already been working on another project too. So I don't want to guarantee it'll be 2021. But you will hear new music from us in 2021, whether it be a whole project, I don't know. Because we both working on some other stuff. He got some things he's working on. I'm working on development right now too. So that's going to come out too.
Okay.
But you will hear new 80s Babies music in 2021, whether it's a couple of Lucy's, whether it's on his project, or just or a deluxe Unlearn album. But you'll definitely hear some new music.
That's good. That's good. That's all we need to hear. I didn't know. I knew you guys had released that around that time of the shutdowns and everything, but I didn't know it happened that day. That's crazy. Like
March 20th.
Yeah. So it's like, and like you say, like have that whole thing of sort of having unfinished business with a project that comes out at that time. It is. I'm sure it has to be, you know, sort of bittersweet in a way where you have a project that you feel so confident and feel so good about, but you can't, like you said, you can't go out and really promote it the way you want. You can't, make videos. You can't, you know, go on any type of tour. You know, none of the festivals that were here in Chicago were available to perform at this year or anywhere else. What was your process? What was your thinking like at going through this whole spring and summer where I'm sure you saw a lot of opportunities go by the wayside in regards to this project and maybe other things.
Yeah, we actually had an elaborate plan set out. We had a really dope rollout. We had tour spot dates already booked, festivals already booked, and things like that. So until I would say, I don't know, until like maybe May, I think we were still like optimistic that things will open back up and we still might get an opportunity. But once the writing was on the wall before summer hit, that COVID was here to stay for a minute. So then
Yeah,
it kind of is what it is. So we just kind of like, what, we'll do what we do, what we can do online. People already responded to it pretty well already. And, just when the time comes, we'll repackage it or whatever we have to do, but it definitely needs to get out there more. I will say I'm very pleased with the reception and the support that is beginning right now. So I don't want to come off ungrateful because a lot of people have supported the album, and the reception has been overwhelmingly positive too. So I definitely appreciate that, and I don't want to sound ungrateful. But
that,
but it's not like that we were in that boat by ourselves. Every single artist, especially every underground artist and independent artist, was in the same boat that we were in. So
yeah,
nobody was able to hit the road. Nobody were able to just
yeah,
roll out the way they wanted to. So it's the new world we're living in. So we gotta adapt to it.
yeah. That's no hope that there's some sort of return to something. Whether we all have to go out there with masks on or something. At least let's be able to gather more and do things where we can not, like say, not just feel so cooped up all the time and feel like separated from each other all the time. I just hope that we can get back to something like that
I had to.
by the next 12 months.
Everybody got to take that vaccine, so I don't have to take it.
Let's let enough people take it so that it can at least be cool to get around people. Not have to worry about anything. Whether we got to take it or not. But yeah, I definitely am glad to help you promote the Unlearn project, man. And if you don't mind, I'll put a couple of the tracks on our final mix.
Please,
for,
yeah.
For our podcast version. So definitely go check out what this man is doing, whatever he's doing. If you see Dee Jack, you see Tall Black Guy, man, check out what they're doing, man, because it's the type of hip hop that to me is timeless, man. It's the same type of feeling I get when I listen to Little Brother, when I listen to Jay Dilla, when I listen to Tribe Called Quest, Outkast. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's music that brings you in. It's not something that that is just abrasive that tunes you out eventually. Like I don't know if you saw, me and Dave saw, but I don't know if you saw the sketch on Saturday Night Live this week where they had Questlove do a guest spot, and they had a couple of white kids. I don't know if what Pete was it Pete
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson, yeah. And that boy Timothy Chalamet, the young actor, but they were playing like these young little punk type rappers, and they were doing these weird, doing this. So they had the joint was called Skeet or something, and they were doing all this weird, say this weird wannabe drill but poppy type stuff, and it's like I say, the kids have that. Like Questlove said in the skit, like there's room enough for all of us, but at some point you want to just get to stuff that gets to your heart and gets into your mind more than just make you want to snap on somebody or do something wild in the streets. We got to have some stuff that really speaks to who we are as people and really elevates our consciousness and our shared mental, and our culture, and not just be out there to make money and do, I say just be wild and act however, the sketch. I advise you look up the sketch because Questlove wound up slapping the boys with his pick, so that was kind of
okay.
That's kind of like for hip hop heads like us, it was kind of a satisfactory moment there, representative of a lot of the ways that we feel about certain music, but that calls itself hip hop. But like I said, if the world made a bit more sense, we've spoken on a lot of things today that makes the world that speaks on how the world doesn't make sense. If the world made more sense, I think artists like you with Tall Black would be on SNL and would be selling out, big arenas and getting the type of attention that artists like that get. But we just glad that you keeping on, and that you haven't been discouraged, and that you still out here repping for true hip hop heads out there, man.
Yeah, man, got to, man. Like I said, I learned a long time ago that I have a platform, I have influence over people, a certain amount of people at least, and I got to be responsible with it. First, it's the type of music that speaks to me anyway. I have to be true to myself, but like I don't take that responsibility lightly. But it's good to be recognized for the work that's done too, man, and that to feel appreciated from you guys and other people too. So it doesn't go unnoticed and it doesn't go unappreciated. Though. Definitely.
For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah. We need more of it. I think in these times, little less little pump, more Tall Black and Dee Jackson. I think in these times. That's and part of it why I asked for the album, the original one, because that being the times that we're in, that's something that definitely that first album really resonated with me. I don't know what it was, but 12 years, that's part of my staple that I've been missing, and I can't find it anywhere online.
That was done intentionally. A lot of people don't have that album. It's just the people who got it. Y'all got it, and it was like a collector's item. Me and Tall Black, we talk about it all the time. We like, man, should we just put it up? And he's like, nah, man, we got like maybe 15, 1,600 of them circulating out there. And it's like, man, the people who got it, they got it. But I got, when you mentioned it to me, I found like a box in my garage with probably about 50 of them. So I'll send you a copy.
You gotta give me one too, man.
I send both of y'all. Yeah, it's still. I cringe when I listen to some of that stuff, but it was so dope in the moment.
But this was the album before Sonic Music, wasn't it?
Right? Cause
music. This is what I was really trying to prove I know how to rap, and I'm just like
that
line.
Yeah.
Now, see, I remember, Dave. I remember when you put me on because you had, I think you had saw them at a show or something, and that's how you got the CD originally. Yeah. And I was up in Wisconsin, and then you one time we got together, you was like, "Oh, listen to this group, man. Listen to these '80s babies, man. They got some dope shit." And I was, that's where it started with me. Dave put me on to y'all.
Man, appreciate that. Yeah.
That I was gonna say that first the way the album comes on, that Sunshine Anderson sample, the Heard It All part. That's like one of my favorite loops of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
and he has plenty of them, but that's definitely one of my favorites. So
yeah, there's actually one or two songs like when we still do shows that we perform from that album. There's a couple of them. We got to go back and hit them, but some of them songs in there, like I cringe when I hear it though. I'm not gonna lie. It's still a part of our history though, and it's still dope to have and everything. We might end up putting it online, but it's kind of cool to be like,
Yeah, put it on Bandcamp or something, man.
Hey, or sell it away. Yeah, man. You sell physical copy, sell electronic copy. But like I said, it's definitely it's a solid first album. I mean, I think there's a lot more people out there who got first cringe-worthy albums or ones that were just all right. So
you know what? I shouldn't say cringe because I am proud of it. I'm still proud of it. I still think it's dope. But like, I guess it's cool too. You can see the evolution. I think I evolved as an MC like times 100.
Yeah, that's the best way of looking at it. It's just because we all have to start from someplace when we do stuff. Whether it's writing or broadcasting. I know there's times where I look back on early stuff that I've done and feel the same way. But like you say, it's that evolution that's in place. That's part of what we do. Where you got to appreciate where you are now. You got to appreciate where you came from.
Yeah.
And you didn't start off rapping over a whole lot of other people's sample tracks. Your first project was organic. I mean, it was you and it was Tall Black and it was something like, and that's from the beginning. And I think that really speaks volumes too, because most people get their genesis rapping over other people's music.
Mm-hmm. At that time when you first met Tall Black and you were rapping, you say you had already been started rapping. What it got you really into rapping, and what was some of the influences at the time that really made you want to set out as an MC?
Yeah, it's a funny story actually. I'm glad you asked because a lot of people don't believe me, like based on content and how I rhyme and things like that. I was in a group with my brothers, but the way I started rapping, I was in school and I was the only person who could catch and recite the Bone Thugs and Harmony lyrics. And a lot of people used to come up to me like, yo, rap that Bone song, man. I don't know what they're saying. Like I'm the biggest Bone fan. A lot of people don't realize that because I'm just this whatever, labeled as a super conscious dude or whatever.
Yeah.
I love Bone, especially back in the day. And then after a while, it was just on some like, man, I'm rapping their stuff. Like I really could write my own stuff. And then I kind of found myself like in high school, I started gravitating towards, I always loved Nas, but then Nas was just like that dude. And then Black Star came out and I was like, oh man, it don't get no better than this. And I just found my lane, what I want to do. Common, like, I get compared to Common more than anybody. I don't know why, but I started just like, that's my lane, and I started tapping into my own consciousness too. Becoming a young adult, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to sound, as far as like with my platform and things like that. But it started off with Bone. Yeah.
I think we may have been born in. Well, I'm sure we were born around the same time. I was born in '84. When were you born?
82.
82. Okay, so they're a little bit older than me. Dave, you 83, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we right in the row there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from among our age, like there's hardly any. I know in my case, there was hardly any young brother I knew in 96, 97 who wasn't messing with Bone. And here in Chicago, man, it's like
the most looked over group in history. Like people look over Bone when they talk about people like that moved the culture and did a lot for hip hop. Like man, Bone sold 40 million records.
Yeah,
like
they were a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's funny how I see what you say though. How like with you become an artist and you put out certain things, and people just expect that you were listening to native tongues or throughout your entire childhood, but nobody was like that. Like
right.
For the most part, I've spoken about this on other shows in the past. Like you had, for me, it was sort of like a duality thing. Like I had my stuff that I knew I listened to with all my guys and stuff that I knew we all messed with. But on the side, I have my own stuff that I listen to too, sort of by myself. Like you said, Nas, but not Nas was sort of in between, but like more like Tribe and stuff and De La and Black Star. That was definitely something that I was sort of listening to by myself in '98, and Common in a lot of ways because. I keep telling people like Common wasn't really appreciated like that in Chicago.
Mm-mm.
in the 90s, man. Like, he unfortunately he wasn't. So it was just a thing where you had to be a certain kind of dude and want a certain type of thing in your music at the time if you were going to listen to Common. Because if you were out in the streets, people weren't really messing with Common like that in the city, unfortunately. But eventually, people have caught on to him and have given him the respect he deserves. But like I said, back then, it wasn't the case.
No, definitely. Yeah. I went through phases, man. I went through, like when I was short, I got two big brothers. So, so they influenced me a little bit too. But like, so my oldest brother, he was the biggest Pac fan. So for a minute, I was all Tupac, you know what I'm saying? And then 94, like Nas and Bone came out and the Wu was out. That's when I was just like, oh man, dude, it gets better.
Yeah.
Warren G first album, I thought that was the craziest thing. I was a West Coast rider for a minute when Bro was killing with Snoop and Dre and all them. But then, like I said, when I got like maybe 16, 17, like I found like this is what I want to be. Like Nas had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Like this is my lane. They actually saying something, and shout out to everybody else too because they definitely helped mold me.
Yeah. Nas, man, he's a legend, and a lot of people put him up there amongst the greatest. But when you think of certain other ways, he's been slept on in so many ways. Like, a lot of people rooting for him for his Grammys this year. The Grammys are what they are, and I never want to put too much emotion into that, but this is probably the best chance that he's ever had of having one this year with that best rap album. And it's like for him to go a whole career without having a Grammy don't make no sense. As ridiculous as that award is anyway, it's supposed to document the greatest of music. And there are other artists in other genres, all type of genres, who I think like Bob Marley didn't get one in his lifetime and stuff like that, like who haven't been awarded to that degree. But I just speaking as a hip hop head and as a appreciator of that dude, man, for us to be in 2020 and be worried about him getting his first Grammy, it don't make sense.
Yeah, a little part of me almost hope he don't get it because I don't want to give him credibility because I always say that Grammys have no credibility when it comes to art and knowing what they're talking about. So I almost don't want to give him credibility by giving Nas what he deserves, But a part of me want him to win too. But
yeah, just to have that moment, man. Just where he could stand out on the stage. That's if they even show it on the broadcast. I hope they will.
Well, nobody. Yeah, well, hopefully it happens. Ironically, it always happens. Meritoriously. It doesn't always. It never happens for the projects it should happen for.
Right. It's like Spike. With the Oscars.
Yeah, same way.
Yeah. So, but that's definitely, like I said, one of my favorites too this year was definitely Nas joint, and Freddie, like you said, and just a lot of like I said, Griselda represented a lot this year, and I'm trying to think of some other projects that have stuck with me, but I like the Run the Jewels joint. I think that may be one of my their top 2 or 3 for me. They put out 4, so I think it's probably among their top 2 for me that they put out. I think that was a really dope album from front to back.
Yeah, it was local superstars. Gold Standard Collective had a dope album.
Yeah, they did put out their. Yeah.
That's family. Taiwan Davis, Rashid Hadid, Fillmore Green, Neek.
They say I mentioned at the top. Phil got the new project on Friday. Definitely look out for that, man. I'm looking forward to it.
It's really funny. You always think about what cities had the greatest body of talent, and I feel like Chicago has it. I mean, it goes in waves. Like at some point, Detroit. Time in history, New York has it, Detroit has it, Philly has it. It's like the West Coast at one point had it, but I feel like Chicago always seems to miss the wave. And then when it does catch the wave, it's always the worst. It's the worst reasons why it's catching the wave. It's the drill season or something like that. It's never who should be, at the forefront.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't want to get too deep. We gonna start to wrap up here, but
Yeah.
I don't want to end on a sour note. But that again was part of because I remember that week again where we first, going back to what I was telling you, D, about us starting doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the wake of the FBG duck shooting, and because I talked to Mike Terror about that, and that same week, and So you had that. You had the boy Vaughn getting shot down in Georgia later in the
I
year.
actually know people close to both of those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So I wouldn't want you to speak out of turn, but I mean, what are your thoughts on like Chicago is still sort of seen as this, very polarizing scene in regards to rap and black culture. It's like we bring a lot to the game and a lot of different, vibrant artists, but we still have, these elements that sort of rise to the forefront of negativity and stuff like that. And so often people across the country and the world, I think they just cite Chicago for that violence and that stuff like that.
Yeah, it's it's super unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I don't know if I have the answers right now, but I know we have to look at ourselves. What we promote, what we put out there, how we bringing our kids up and things like that. It's on us, to change it. Like it's super unfortunate, but we glorify certain things, and the people, the generation coming behind us, that's what they're gonna live by. That's what they're gonna think. That's what's up.
Yeah.
We glorify the street culture, we glorify gang culture, drug culture, any of that. It's that's where it starts. Like I read a book this year that kind of changed my life. And I think if everybody read this book, especially educators, it'll get us back on the right track as far as like black folks or minorities in general. Author is Dr. Goldie Muhammad, and the book is called Cultivating Genius. And it's a model that she developed to develop, in particular, young black minds, and how to develop the brains, and bring out the genius in everybody, specifically us. It changed my life, and I think every school, especially schools in the hood and everything, they should actually gravitate towards that. But that's why I say it starts with us. That book changed my life because like if we all adapted that model, maybe the mindset of our youth, our young, impressionable kids, and our trendsetters now, these young rappers, maybe the mindset would be a little different. Maybe it wouldn't be cool to get, somebody get taken out early 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like Vaughn, 26, man. He only been rhyming. Was he 26? I think he's only been rhyming for a couple years. He had the rest of his life ahead of him. Somebody was taking him out. The life that he led. God rest the dead. But like the way he moved, what I'm saying, that was okay to him. And the way people around him moved and everything, that was okay to them. And they got that from somewhere, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we need to be more responsible too. But yeah, that book changed my life though. Cultivating Genius.
Okay. I'm looking that up now, talking about historically responsive literacy.
Yep.
Yeah. Identity development, skill development, intellectual development, and criticality.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's especially for educators, it's a must have for educators. But I think especially our community, I think we can all pull from that. And especially parents, us with kids, we can all pull from that.
Thanks for the recommendation, bro. Appreciate that.
No problem. I'm sure she would appreciate it.
Yeah. But yeah, let's start to wrap this up, man. Really appreciate you spending time with us, man, and helping us bring some closure to this year. We gonna do probably one more show next week, me and Dave, and probably bring some more people on. I might we'll see. Not sure yet who will be, but try to bring another guest or two on next week to help us, wrap up 2020 and get some more voices in here to talk about what's affected them and what they're taking from this year. I guess the last thing I ask you, D, is just what are some do you have like an overall lesson or overall theme or something that you think you're going to take from this year that in regards to just taking as much as you can from it and learning and going forward in a positive light and positive manner?
Yeah, man. We all we got. Let's stick together and move forward as one because we all we got.
Definitely. I'm with that, man. I'm with that. Let's all take better care of each other, man, and try to look out for our brothers and our sisters like we look out for ourselves, man. Because in the end, we ain't, like I said, you're not gonna get much anywhere without that support, and you don't want to be left out there alone, and with nobody to have your back. I think that's how people like you look like a Herman Cain. That's how he got caught up. He out there with the white folks, end up getting that sickness, and he got taken out, man. And nobody gave a damn about him in the end.
Right.
A great man who didn't align with his people in the right way. If he was aligned with his people would have told him, don't be out there with them sick white folks in that arena.
For real.
God bless him. Yeah, God bless him, but he played himself, man. So let us not be any more victims out here, man. In 2021, no more of that idiocy, man. With whether you align yourself with the enemy or just putting your head in the sand, we got to keep ourselves awake and keep ourselves motivated and moving forward, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dave, you got anything else to add, bro?
No, D, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate y'all. I enjoy this, this communication right here, man. Talk about everything I want to talk about too, man. Like y'all, good brothers, man. So if y'all ever want to have me again, I'll be honored, to come. And just encourage everybody to support 80s Baby's latest album, Unlearn. You can stream it everywhere, but if you really want to support an artist, best way is probably go to Bandcamp. Bandcamp, Dee Jackson 80sbabies.bandcamp.com. That's DEE Jackson. But that's probably the best way. But if you got to stream it, if you already got a streaming services, go ahead, support it, and hopefully you mess with it. I think everybody can get it.
If you want to buy it, don't front on our mans here, man. Them streaming services don't give enough money to these artists, man. So stream it once or twice and then cop, if you can.
Streaming services, just to give y'all an idea, 1,500 plays equals one sale. I don't know who came up with that number. Equals one sale, and on average, they pay out different, but on average, it's like one sale is like a dime.
Yeah, I don't know y'all with that, man. Yeah,
but I appreciate you, brothers, man. I appreciate everybody.
We'll be glad to have you. We'll definitely holler at you again, man. For for some reason, we'll holler at you. And if you got anything you want to promote, definitely hit us up, man. We'll be
next time me and Tall Black will do it.
Yeah, we love to hear from him again, man. We'll definitely love to talk with him.
Yeah, we'll do it. I'll holler at him whenever. We'll make ourselves available.
Yeah, we appreciate that, man. Definitely. All right. Well, in the meantime, man, wish you the best. Going into the new year, man. So, peace and prosperity and all that, man, for you and your child and all your fam, man.
Man, appreciate it, man. Same to y'all. Y'all brothers be blessed, man. I appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you. Stay out.
Yeah, we this is it for now, man. We're in the building, episode 16, wrapping up. Like I said, you can listen to this. We'll put out the audio version of this soon on War on Anchor, and have a couple of excerpts from the Unlearn album too, so you can listen to if you hadn't listened to it yet, man, just listen to some of that good stuff that D and Tall Black put together this year. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back next week with one more show for 2020. Me and Dave, and hopefully a guest or two. But in the meantime, y'all, like I say, stay safe. Keep keep safe, keep knowledgeable, keep yourself aware, and yeah, take care of yourselves. And yeah, we'll see y'all later. I'll let y'all later.
All right, peace.
All right.